Greater Houston is home to many world religions. These religions and their houses of worship demonstrate the wonderful mosaic of faith and culture that brighten the tapestry of our community. Interfaith Ministries for Greater Houston is proud to present this video series as a part of our mission to educate people and reduce stereotypes. This series is presented by the Interfaith Relations and Community Partnerships Department of Interfaith Ministries for Greater Houston. It is also a celebration of the Brigitte and Bashar Kalai Plaza of Respect, located at Interfaith Ministries' main campus in Midtown Houston. Let's take a closer look at the elements of our houses of worship and work towards a better understanding of our religions and culture. The Unitarian Universalist Church is known for its open-minded, inclusive, and diverse approach to spirituality and religious practice. Universal Unitarians embrace many religious traditions, including Christianity, Buddhism, Judaism, humanism, and earth-centered spirituality. There is no required creed or dogma. The Unitarian Universalists are guided by their ethical and spiritual life, emphasizing values like the inherent worth of every person, justice, equity, compassion, and respect for the interdependent web of all existence. Individuals are encouraged to explore their own spiritual path.
Good morning, Reverend Ed.
Good morning.
So please introduce yourself and tell us where we are.
I am Ed Prue, and I am the minister at Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church, which is in the Galleria area of Houston.
Okay. So how often do Unitarians gather for worship? Are there certain days of the week that they gather? Is there a certain time? And then is there a certain expected dress that one should wear, as far as dress code that one should wear? Or is it more of a come as you are?
So we come out of the Protestant tradition, so we meet on Sundays. And this particular church meets at 11, although many churches meet at very different, some have two services. We only have one, and it's at 11. And the dress code is, this church is a little, people dress up a little more, but in other churches, I mean, it's very much come as you are sometimes.
So do you host any other gatherings during the course of the week, or are you strictly only on Sunday? So do you have, as an example, anything that happens on a Wednesday for a small group and things like that?
We have small groups meeting all the time during the course of the week. And now, post-pandemic, they meet mostly on Zoom, which is nice in some ways and difficult in some ways. So we have small group ministries. We have adult education, which meets before services on Sunday, and we have children's religious education, which meets during services on Sunday. And then there are other events, social events and social action events that happen during the week. Yeah.
So Reverend Katie, please introduce yourself and tell us where we are.
I'm Reverend Katie McQuaige Lucas. My pronouns are she and hers. And we are in the sanctuary of the Bay Area Unitarian Universalist Church on the south side of Houston, Texas, right down the way from NASA.
Okay. So what can a visitor expect when they come into a Unitarian church?
So the front entrance might have a couple of different names depending on what church you're in. For us, it's just the foyer or the entryway. And there will be someone standing there to greet you. And that person will have an order of worship or a bulletin in their hand ready to give you so that you know what to expect in the service itself. And if it's your first time and you let us know, that person will walk you in and introduce you to some more people, to maybe sign up for newsletters and all that kind of thing, and also kind of orient you to the space. And then you will enter into this room, the sanctuary, and seat wherever you'd like.
So, what are some common elements of the worship space in a Unitarian church? So, as an example, are you having an altar? Do you have a pulpit? So, what are some of the common elements?
Sure. So in this Unitarian church, we have an altar. It's actually behind us. We have a pulpit and a lectern. The difference is in older times, the pulpit was for the minister to speak from and the lectern was from lay people to speak from. That distinction is not so solid anymore. We move around. And there'll usually be a piano. We also have an organ.
Are there any religious symbols? So anything that's specific to the Unitarian Church versus other faiths?
So the symbol of this church is the flaming chalice, which is, you'll see pretty much symbolized in any Unitarian church. We have one, most Unitarian Universalist churches will have a chalice. We light it at the beginning of the service to symbolize the beginning of our sacred time together, and we extinguish it at the end of the service to symbolize that our sacred time is ended and we can go off into the world.
Okay. You mentioned earlier some of the common elements of an actual service. So is there, for an example, is there a processional where you yourself walk in and others walk in with you? Prayer as a choir?
Some churches might do processionals and recessionals. We typically don't here. We typically have just gathering music as we all come in, drifting in together, and I'm usually already up here. So there's not really a big moment where I walk in, although some churches do that. We might do prayer some weeks, we might do a meditation on other weeks, whatever meets the need of the moment in the service. And it's going to, I think, depend a lot on the minister and the type of service structure that's happening, since it does vary. Sometimes a meditation works well, sometimes a prayer does.
There's, I'm assuming, a reading of the scripture or an opportunity for the profession of faith, a doxology or a benediction?
There are not actually majority of those things. I do a benediction to close the service as part of our chalice extinguishing at the end, but there is no doxology and no profession of faith. We are a non-creedal tradition. We do not necessarily share beliefs. We share practices, we share values, but there's no test of faith or particular list of items to believe in order to be a part of a UU church. I often describe us as multi-faith. We may have Christians or Jews or Buddhists or Muslims or we have quite a few pagans and many atheists in our congregations. And we gather because we have that locus of shared values, and we share bits and pieces with each other, but there's no singular thing that we all believe alike necessarily. So any and all of those scriptures might appear in a worship service. So might poetry or an essay or anything else someone finds particularly spiritually moving.
Okay. So if there is no specific profession of faith, what do you think is the draw to the Unitarian Church for someone when traditionally they may have to profess a belief in a certain being?
I think that is the draw, is that I think that there is deep within all of us that human need for connection, for spiritual experience, and for community. And for people who don't feel that they can belong in a place that requires a profession of faith, we're here. I think that plenty of people do have beliefs, they just don't necessarily share them with the person in the pew next to them. And so it's the community and the covenant, the promise we make to be together and to take care of each other and to share our journey as much as we can.
Who leads the Unitarian worship service and how are they identified? So as an example, are there specific names that are used? Is there a robe? Is there a stole that is worn? Or is it a different style or type of dress that is used for the person leading worship service?
So the person who leads our worship service is a minister. That's the word we use. Some churches use pastor. Most churches use minister. And most ministers, most ministers will wear stoles. Some will wear a robe, some won't. I don't. I wear a stole to signify that I'm functioning in a holy place right now. I'm functioning out of worship right now.
Okay.
But that is not necessarily universal throughout our congregations. And then we also have guest speakers who may be topic-centered, and you can distinguish them from ministers where they usually won't be wearing
what
stoles.
parts of service might a visitor expect to participate in? So, music and singing, standing, prayer, offering plate. Are there specific areas that if I'm visiting that I would be expected to participate in?
Well, you can participate if you want to, but you don't have to. We love to have people sing with us when we sing hymns. And we do have an offering, which again, we would love for you to participate in, but you don't have to. And we also have a meditation. We have a meditation in the middle where, it's sort of the opposite of doing something, but you will sit and participate in the meditation, but you won't actually move about.
Okay. So, what is the role of the church in a Unitarian community, and how does it shape the identity and values of the congregation?
So the role of the church is a place where people can gather to address the life's questions that are not easily addressed outside of a group. So we will come together to seek our own selves, to seek meaning within our own selves, and then see how we integrate with the rest of the world around us, the culture around us. And then we gather also to address how we clash with the culture around us, and everyone clashes with the culture around us. So we address that, and we hope to find learning experiences where folks can learn to balance the needs of the culture with the needs of their own morality, their own spirituality.
How do you feel as though that these different activities foster a sense of identity, belonging, and continuity amongst Unitarian individuals?
I think there are some senses of tradition. When you don't have belief as the marker of tradition, things like our covenant and certain practices end up becoming anchor points, or these threads that continue through time and that reaffirm our sense of who we are. And so I think there are certain things we do, this thing that we do every year, a whole bunch of people are going to be marching in the Pride Parade, and a whole bunch of people are going to show up whenever there's another climate event happening in Houston. And these are things that link us to each other in this shared sense of service. I think that ties into our identity. And then I think there's also just the regular rhythms of week-to-week life of the church. Like I said, the potlucks and the dinners, and all of these things that give us opportunities to see each other, to get to know each other, and then to take care of each other for the long haul.
So since belief is not the central core, the core of the Unitarian Church, do you feel as though that brings scrutiny or unwelcomed scrutiny or comments or mindsets about the Unitarian Church?
I think it's more often confusion, though I do think that here in Texas there is a tendency to see us as not quite a real church in some ways. But I think that there are enough religious traditions that operate this way that there are those who understand. And so when I talk about it that way, I think people start to understand that religion can be a way of life, not simply an intellectual commitment.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would want to add, or that we haven't asked, that you want our audience who will watch this videotape to know about the Unitarian Church?
I think just know that if you come, we will be glad to see you, and that you are welcome here. In whatever you bring, whatever's on your heart, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, however you are in body or spirit, whoever you love, you are welcome here.
Thank you so much. This has been very enlightening, and I'm sure that our audience will truly walk away with a sense of connection and understanding of the Unitarian Universalist Church. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Reverend Ed, you mentioned that you had previously watched some of the Welcome to Our House videos. What is your hope that people take away when they view this series of videos about other faiths that make up the city of Houston?
I hope people will find one that works for them, because I think religion is very important in human life, and I think religion is currently at a low point on the importance scale in human life. And I would love people to have more spirituality and a more solid spiritual home. So if folks don't have a church to go to right now, I would hope that these videos give them some strength or some power or some confidence to walk into a church that sounds good for them and try it on.